What's up, comic and pop culture fans? This is James with Minhunter Comics, and today we're going to be doing the top characters that actually stayed dead in comics. This is one of my more requested videos, but my god, most characters that have died in comics typically come right back within a few years. There are some characters like Jason Todd, Bucky Barnes, Gwen Stacy that stayed dead for quite a long time, but did eventually come back. And that's cool and all, but I'm more interested in these characters that truly are dead and aren't coming back. I think I did my research pretty well on this one, but I want you to drop in the comments if you can find any that I didn't mention. And don't forget about the 40,000 subscriber giveaway. Let's dive into the list. I'm just going in the order in which I found them in my research. First one's going to be Alfred Pennyworth. Granted, he died literally 5 years ago in the Tom King Batman run. Also, that is the last time I shed a tear when reading a comic book. Dude, it's Alfred. I'm gonna cry. It was handled in such Tom King fashion too, because he knows how to deal with trauma. And God, we as readers certainly felt that one. But I was more impressed with the fact that he still hasn't been brought back. It helps the story, it helps the relationship between Batman and Damian. And as much as I love Alfred, I kind of hope they keep him dead a while longer. Next one's going to be Mar-Vell. This is probably the one I should have saved for the last, because this is probably the biggest one on the list. The one with the most impact. Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel. Well, not the original Shazam Captain Marvel, but you know what I mean. Jim Starlin killed him off with cancer in 1982, and it is still probably the most iconic comic book death. What a statement, I know. It was such a big deal that out of respect, people are keeping him dead. And I agree with it. Honestly, I think it helps his legacy. Next up is going to be Sarah Essen. Remember Jim Gordon's second wife? Sarah Essen was an interesting character at first because it showed Jim in a little bit of a more adulterous light, which is kind of interesting. But she was a great character, part of the GCPD, and she died in a sacrificial way in the, was it No Man's Land? I'm pretty sure it was No Man's Land. And you know what? It's been 25 years, so I think she's staying dead on this one. Next up is going to be Zatara, killed off quite a bit ago. Granted, we have seen his spirit, his soul through psychic connections with Zatanna, his daughter, but he has been officially laid to rest and his soul was allowed to move on, and looks like we might be looking at a permadeath on this one, at least of today's video date. Next is going to be another DC entry with the original Dove, Don Hall. And there's a particularly cool moment in which the Blackest Night arc, in which Black Rings of Death came and resurrected a lot of dead characters. It found the original Dove, and the ring said, Don Hall of Earth is at peace. So he didn't even get a Blackest Night zombie resurrection. He was so far gone. He's super dead. Uncle Ben. Not a superhero, but a massive, tragic story that's absolutely cementing Peter Parker as who he is. It would kind of suck if they brought him back. I think it would definitely take away some of that origin story goodness, man. I know people to this day are bummed that they had Peter's parents come back. I would be very upset if they brought Uncle Ben back. Leave him alone. Next is going to be Ted Knight, the original Starman. We got another one that sacrificed himself heroically. Since the 90s, we've had Jack Knight, Starman, who's got the new mantle going on. But Ted Knight's been dead since about, 1993, 1994, right around that 0 Hour DC event. And even though he's a legacy character in which the mantle passed, I think it's pretty cool that the original is still gone. Ulisses Bloodstone. This is the original monster hunter, the father of Elsa Bloodstone, obviously, who even got a Marvel MCU debut, even though he was dead there too. If you haven't seen Werewolf by Night, please go do that. It was amazing. Ulysses Bloodstone is dead and has been for quite some time. Karen Page. I was a little surprised they didn't do this in the show. But then again, we're kind of getting a season 4 of Daredevil. Do you think we're going to get that iconic Karen Page death? It was extremely impactful, and I'm so surprised by the choice at Marvel to keep her dead. That seems like a character that would get resurrected time and time again, but I love that they're doing that. It helps make that moment more tragic. Next is going to be Giant Man or Black Goliath. This is Bill Foster, who died in Civil War back in 2006. Just like Ted Knight Starman, this is another one that's been passed, a mantle passing to another bearer, but the actual dude's been dead for 20 years at this point, pretty much. I think he's staying in the ground. But then again, I might watch this video next year and we find out he's alive. We're going to go with Jim Wilson. Do you remember Hulk had that sidekick there? This is a character that did die, actually, of AIDS. A very memorable death. So I think just like Captain Marvel, I think they're opting to respect it for a very intentional use of a death in comics. I don't think we're going to see him again. Could be wrong. Hey, who remembers the irredeemable Ant-Man? That's the Eric O'Grady, the third Ant-Man who stole the suit. He died sacrificing himself for a child back in 2012. So now this is 12, 13 years ago we're talking about. I don't know if we're going to get him again. We might just have another permadeath. I'm going to bring up Abin Sur. Just like Uncle Ben to Green Lantern, this is the one that started it all. He's the actual alien that crash landed on Earth and gave his ring to Hal Jordan. Now, we have seen Abin Sur, but it's in flashbacks, a Sinestro flashback when they were buddy-buddy back in the day. So we get him in that light, but as for reviving him, no. And I think that's a really intelligent decision. It also helps Hal Jordan's origin story more by keeping him dead. I'm going to bring up the original Toxin. We got Pat Mulligan, killed by Blackheart. Actually, it was an off-panel killing and kind of just shottied to the side and mentioned briefly. A little bit of a disrespectful death, but we have not seen Toxin, the original, since. Still, it might just be too early to tell for this and a couple other of these characters. They might bring them back in the next years to come. I'm going to end this list with Eric Masterson, the original Thunderstrike. Just like Bill Foster, just like Ted Knight. This is a mantle that has been passed. There is a new Thunderstrike, but Eric Masterson is dead since 1995. Someone said in the comments that his soul got resurrected and then immediately put back to sleep in a couple years later in the late 90s, but other than that, this dude's dead, and that's a bigger name. Those of you who remember the 80s and 90s, Eric Masterson was a big deal character. So it's cool to me when they have the balls to kill off an actual big name and keep them that way. Everybody go ahead and set a timer on your phone. We are going to revisit this in 20 years and see if they're still dead. I don't know. Marvel and DC like to get a little lazy. Hopefully they stay dead. Otherwise, it's kind of lazy writing, I think, to me. I guess we'll just wait and see. Hope you all have a great one. Love you all. Thank you so much for your support on the channel. I've had a blast in 2024. See you in 2025. Don't forget about the 40,000 subscriber giveaway and keep on hunting.
Make sure to come on down to Sentiment Depot's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 238 West Delaware Ave in Pennington, New Jersey. Find so many great books for just $1 and the lowest prices on key comics around. Enjoy a huge selection of graded comics priced up to 20% lower than current fair market value. We are open from Wednesday to Sunday, closed Monday, Tuesday. You got a collection you want to sell? Bring that too. Can't wait to see you there.